What's up, guys? Drew here, back at you with another one. And today, Freddy's back, and we are all his children now. It's Freddy's Revenge, A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, and it's coming at you now. So this movie was directed by Jack Shoulder, who did a movie that I've been talking about on this channel called The Hidden that I really like, and I'm getting ready to review. He also did the original Alone in the Dark, and it centers around the character of Jesse, played by Mark Patton, and him and his family have bought the Elm Street house that Nancy and her family were in. This is 5 years after the events of the first movie. He starts having these nightmares and visions, and it starts interfering with his schoolwork. It starts interfering with his relationships with his friends, Lisa and Grady. And later on, it becomes evident that Freddy is using these dreams and nightmares that Jesse's having to use him as a portal from the dream world into the real world. So performance-wise, there's some really good performances here. Mark Patton, of course, as I said, plays Jesse, and he's known in this movie as being the first male scream queen because he basically takes on the role of the female character, which is pretty interesting. And Kim Myers, who plays Lisa, is actually kind of like the male character who saves him in the end. It's an interesting dynamic that way. And yeah, so Mark's been forever known as the Scream Queen. He does a really good job here, as does Kim. Robert Russler plays Grady. He's kind of like the jock, and I like the dynamic that him and Jesse have. They're friends, but they also fight and bicker. You know, they have those fights on the baseball field and everything, and so there's really good character dynamic there. So Robert Englund, of course, is in this movie as well. He's not only Freddy Krueger, but he also plays the bus driver in the very beginning of the movie. If you blink, you'll miss it. Um, Really good job in this movie. Freddy to me is at his scariest here. He's almost demonic with the eyes they give him, like the red and the brown, and the way he tortures Jesse in this movie. Um, it's just really evil and sadistic. He's kind of a bastard in this movie, and it's a great portrayal. One of my favorite Robert Englund portrayals of the Freddy Krueger character. So Robert Englund almost wasn't Freddy Krueger in this movie. To save money, New Line Cinema, who was just a startup at that time, decided to go with a different guy, and his performance is actually in one of the shots in this movie. In the shower scene with Marshall Bell, who's also a great actor who was in Total Recall and Twins. He plays Coach Snyder, who's got some issues in this movie. In that shower scene, there's a scene where he's tied up, and Freddy comes kind of stumbling in, and that was that other actor. That scene's kind of funny. It looks like Freddy's crapped his pants the way he comes waddling in there, but I'm pretty sure that's the only scene where that actor played Freddy in this movie. So this movie has the stigma of being known as the gay Nightmare on Elm Street. Writer David Chaskin has publicly stated that he put those overtones and that subtext into this movie on purpose. And a lot of people have a problem with that, but to me, it makes the story slightly more interesting and almost Freudian. You have this young teenage boy who's not sure exactly what he is sexually. You can tell that with the character, the way he runs from his girlfriend to his friend Grady. Like there's this scene where he's actually getting ready to make it with his girlfriend, and he gets up and leaves and goes to sleep at his friend's house, and it's just kind of odd in a way. And the character of Freddy keeps screwing with him, and psychologically, it's almost Hitchcockian in a way, and I like that about it. There's some really cool scenes in this movie. In the beginning of the movie, whenever Jesse's having this nightmare of the bus that he's on and it's going through the desert, suddenly the desert ground gives way and they're up on these big stone columns and the bus is just hanging there precariously. As there's like lightning and everything. That's a really cool visual for 1985. I really enjoyed that. And then And then the coolest effect in the movie to me was whenever Freddy emerges from Jesse, actually comes out of the dream world into the real world, and Kevin Yeager, who's done a lot of prosthetic effects. I know he did the effects for Chucky in Child's Play. Um, where Freddy actually emerges from his chest and comes out. That was a really cool scene. There were a few things in this film that I didn't care for. The hellhounds at the end of the film, they put these baby faces on these dogs to kind of chase the character of Lisa around there at the end, and they just look silly and stupid, and I laughed whenever I saw those. Um, I actually the score also wasn't my favorite. These Nightmare on Elm Street scores are really cool because they play with your sense of everything. You know, they play this creepy melody and then he'll hit a wrong note on purpose. But there was very little of that, and what there was compared to the rest of the franchise just didn't stick out to me. And then there's the big bugaboo that I have with this movie. I really don't feel like Freddy should be out in the real world. I feel like he should be haunting people and killing them in their dreams. But there's that scene, after he emerges from Jesse, which was cool. He ends up going to Lisa's pool party and he's running around out in the open. And Robert Englund's several inches shorter than the rest of these kids. And he's running around, with his claws and slash. It looks really goofy. And I don't care for that scene. Now, I will admit, I have a problem with most Elm Street endings. With a character like Freddy Krueger who doesn't exist anywhere but your dreams, it's hard to kill him off in a convincing way. And like the first movie, I didn't really like it where Nancy just turns her back on him, and he kind of falls, like out of her psyche. I guess that was the only plausible way to do that, but I didn't really care for it. This movie here was done a little bit better. It ends in that foundry, and Lisa goes, and Freddy's there, and he's completely overtaken Jesse, and she shows him love, and Jesse comes back out of Freddy. That, while not perfect, to me was a little better than the ending of Elm Street 1. And the other thing I don't like, they had a coda at the end of Elm Street 1, where they pulled the mom through the window. They do the same thing here with the bus. And it's kind of a neat, tip of the cap to the beginning of the movie, but I really didn't care for that much either. I like that happy ending there in the foundry between Lisa and Jesse. So overall, I would give Nightmare on Elm Street 2: Freddy's Revenge a 6.5. I think it's a 6 on IMDb. I think it's slightly better than that. To me, it is, well, not as good as 1 and 3, and I'm not sure which one of those two I like better. I'll have to do a video on that. But to me, it's right behind there. I think it's just ahead of Elm Street 4, which has some cool visuals, but the story's kind of all over the place. This one, I really like the story. I like the characters. I didn't even mention Clu Gulager, the dad, who's like every dad from the 70s, 80s, 90s. What that boy needs is a good kick in the butt. But anyway, just had to throw that in there before I ended the video. But um, I really like the characters. I like the story. I like the psychological aspect and the psychosexual aspect to this movie. You have the homophobic people going, "Oh, that's the gay Elm Street." But if you were of that ignorant mindset, shouldn't this movie be scarier to you? I mean, when you really think about it, but I'm not going to get into that can of worms. But I really did enjoy that aspect of the movie and how Freddy Krueger is slowly torturing Jesse, until the point where he bursts out of him. It wasn't always my favorite, but over the last few years, I've come to really enjoy and appreciate this movie, and I'll defend it. There's some bad choices, there's some issues with this movie, but I'll defend it as one of the better Elm Street movies, every day of the week. So as always, thanks for watching. Had a lot of fun with this one. Had a lot of fun revisiting this movie. As always, I got a lot of cool things coming. I think I got Maniac Cop probably coming up next, which is a fun movie. Uh, we'll see what else I got in store. Until then, I'm Andrew. I'll see you down the line.